We are live. Yes, WeatherBrains episode number 580 for the 27th of February, 2017. The pre-show, the magical part of the show, and you know the three things we do here. We say outrageous things, share boring personal stories, and humorous anecdotes. And this is where we get all of our guests together and online, work out our technical problems, and share whatever's on our mind. Bill Murray, what's on your mind?
Well, there are generally not many technical problems anymore. That's the great thing.
Well, that's just no fun. We need to see if we
It's
can.
a lot less exciting, for sure.
That's true.
The Google Effects app will no longer work after April 25th. What will I do, James?
I don't know.
I don't know if I can go on.
You can get Wirecast like what I have here.
I was going to say, I may have to get that. That looks pretty cool.
I
wish I would tell you, Ride
I've already got some graphics in here for our guests.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. This might get rowdy tonight. This is going to make for some good live podcasts.
You just jump right in early and often. Let's don't do it the typical way tonight.
No. All right. So let's see here. What have I not
Who are
been?
you, the grounds crew? The Birmingham Bears? Are you driving a tarp these days?
Yeah, this is my new job. I am pulling tarp at the at a baseball field in downtown Birmingham. What a great thing to do.
It's a great place to do it.
I've helped these guys with weather for years,
Right.
and they're always kind enough at the end of the season to float me some
swag,
goodies.
I just invited our guests.
So Brian is out. He says he has to get up and work the morning shift.
Oh, please.
I'm going to bust his chops because, you see, I'm on his morning show now. I'm on every morning at 6:15.
Of course, he probably gets up about 2 to do his.
But I'm going to bust his chops. It's going to be good. I'm going to show
tomorrow.
classic.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the road at 6:15. Doggone it.
Show some classic Colonel Sanders, Brian Peters photographs, and have a little fun here.
Oh my goodness.
Thunder snow in Seattle. Everybody's sharing this one.
I wish I were in Telluride, Colorado right now. 18 inches expected overnight.
That's a lot of snow.
Yeah, that's a lot of snow even for them. Hey, Dr. Laura.
Hey, Bill.
Dr. Laura is on the show. This is good.
Whenever I think of Dr. Laura, I want to tell my personal problems and things.
I can't help with those.
Now, that'd be a good thing to do. We could just have a night where we just share our personal problems, and Dr. Laura can help us because we all obviously have them.
We could all pay you a nickel like they did Lucy on Peanuts.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And you could just yell at us a lot, and we would get better.
Yes, it works that way.
Ooh, wow. We got people watching already. We got a big number here.
Uh-oh.
They're expecting fireworks.
Baby,
Fireworks.
Fireworks.
Bill, they do make decaffeinated drinks, and man, are they good.
Well, the problem is that I stayed up till 12:30 watching the Academy Awards snafu last night.
That was something, wasn't it?
It's hard to get. That was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So the other buzz I'm seeing the two Twitter things now: Thunder Snow in Seattle and Bill Nye on the Tucker Carlson show. I just don't even want to go there. I'm not in the mood. Although I got some Bill Nye sound bites in here somewhere in my soundboard. I need to clean this thing up. I've got so many old.
This is the second monster storm that slammed into the Northeast this.
I'm not going down. I'm not going down this path.
Yeah.
It is not going to happen.
The science is in.
Science.
I never realized what the first line of that jingle was.
Is that the first time you've heard what it said?
I've heard it, but I never realized what it said.
It's just, I'm going to stick with this one.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that one.
No, that makes everybody happy.
Hello, Tom.
Okay. I was wondering if you guys could hear me.
Yeah.
It says weather under your name. That'd be a cool name to have, is weather.
Unless it's springtime.
So this is Tom?
Yes.
Tom, okay. Bill, is he using one of the weather accounts, the WeatherBrains accounts? Or Bill.
No, what about it? Is he doing
when I'm looking under Tom's when I press Tom on the switcher here, it says weather instead of his name.
No, he's using his.
Okay, that's cool. Tom, I'm James. Got Dr. Laura. Got Bill.
Hi, James.
Where are you from?
I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, but I'm currently living in Fort Walton Beach, the panhandle of Florida.
Oh, we've been there.
Oh, yeah, it's not
many
bad.
a time.
A few million times.
Not a bad place to be.
Nope, that's for sure.
For some reason, when I was like, I don't know, in college, we went to Daytona like once, but we went to Fort Walton a lot. I don't know, I guess it's closer. I don't know, but
not to Panama City.
No. I understand. I'm a social zero. We weren't drinkers or carrying on types. We just looking for babes. We wanted girls that weren't drunk and were nice. And
they weren't in Panama City.
No. We didn't go down there. We had better luck in Fort Walton Beach.
Where did you go to college?
At the time I was doing that, I was an engineering student at the University of Alabama.
Oh, okay.
You ever been to Tuscaloosa, Alabama before?
I have. I went to an Alabama game a few years back versus Kent State.
Who are you pulling for? Be honest. We wear our hearts on our sleeves here.
Well, I'm a Florida State fan, but at the time I was pulling for Alabama because Jimbo Fisher's an Alabama boy. He's one of Saban's boys.
Yeah, we got an Alabama fanboy on the show here. The #1 Alabama fanboy. Bill, you hadn't missed a football game in what, 27 years?
Long time. When they started staying at our hotel back in '85, it kind of, they kind of got under my skin a little bit. And hard to wash them off.
Oh, they have a decent program there. Some tradition, some success, a little bit.
A little overrated, as Jimmy Kimmel would say.
Well, until somebody knocks them out regularly, I would say they're very rated.
No, there's no question.
So,
where do you see Mark Zuckerberg went when he came to Alabama?
Yeah.
He went to see Coach Saban. He didn't come see you, Dr. Laura?
He did not.
Well, that's
yeah,
surprising.
he stiffed me too. I was waiting on that to come knocking on the door here, but
He knew you were associated with Kevin. He's like avoiding.
yeah, exactly. He knows about Kevin. Where's Kevin been? Who made him mad? Aubrey, did you make Kevin mad?
I most certainly did not.
Like he wasn't here last week, and he's not here tonight. I mean, it's usually he
still
pops
training?
on. Do what now?
He's still training?
I don't think so. I think he's just mad at somebody.
I did see on Facebook tonight he's at like a home and garden show, so I'm wondering if he's doing appearances this evening or something.
Oh, at the old home and garden show, signing autographs.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody has a picture of Kevin doing that, I would love to have that. And we know that Nate or Brian is out, so maybe Nate will be here.
Yep.
Goodness, I feel like I haven't done something, but I'll figure it out when I press a button and nothing
It's
happens.
too easy. This is usually the time when you'd be panicking. Oh my
People
God.
think this stuff just kind of happens, and
I guess we ought to be good at it after 12 years.
you'd think so, but we're not quite there.
We're still working on it. We're still practicing.
So we can get started once the television hits here. We got like 2 minutes. Anybody want to share a boring personal story?
I could share a boring Panama City story from my senior year graduation trip.
Oh, go ahead.
And my crazy friend Jeff and I went to Panama City, 18, of course, probably doing what you're talking about doing too, James. And we had a hotel room, and we're in the hotel room, had double beds. And, I wake up one morning and there's this girl standing over my bed, taking the picture off the wall. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And Jeff was like, "I'm going to let her borrow our pictures so she can get her security deposit back." And I'm like, "Well, how are we going to get our security deposit back, genius?" And so anyway, I rescued my pictures and saved my $500.
Wow. I don't think I've ever taken a vacation week at Panama City. I mean, I've been there.
Well, that's where we went as a kid, back in the day, in the late 60s. That was the place to go.
I think the last time I was there was this tropical storm named Bonnie that was basically nothing. And this was the same year as like Charlie. It was what was that, Bill? 2004?
Yeah. That's not the one that caused all the flooding.
No. That was Alberto.
94.
Back in the 90s. But Bonnie was just kind of a nothing happened.
That's the last hurricane you went to?
Yeah, I don't do them anymore. It's just about if you go to these hurricanes, it is an ocean. I mean, an ocean of these blow-dried boobs, TV people. I mean, they're just there's like literally dozens and dozens as far as the eye can see. It's these, blow-dried TV guys and their live views, and they're just praying that, a piece of sheet metal or a sign's going to topple over in the back of their shot. And it's like there's nobody there that lives there. It's just a bunch of TV. I have no interest in that. I mean, I want to go where, where people are. And as we say this, welcome and good evening to our television friends. It is 30 minutes after the hour. This is WeatherBrains. The pre-show is about to morph into the show. And we can actually start this sucker on time. So now that we're on television, let me get a couple of recorders going here. Recorder number 1. Recorder number 2. And here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is WeatherBrains episode number 580. 580 for the 27th of February, 2017. On the verge of beginning meteorological spring. The season of renewal. This is James Spann. Thanks a lot for listening. We're glad you are here. We have a few folks out tonight. And Aubrey, Brian Peters, who's typically here. Brian, for those that don't know, worked for many, 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 many years. Morning coordination meteorologist with the National Weather Service. And he's been on the dark side, working on TV for 12 or 13 years now. And he has to work the morning shift. And he says he has to get his sleep, Aubrey. Who sleeps in television? There's no sleeping in television.
It's very healthy to get sleep, James. So I recommend that you start getting more sleep.
Oh boy!
You need your.
So
sleep.
how would you advise that I do that?
I would advise that you're going to have to work around your schedule because you have to make time for yourself. And I know you're working out and you're trying to be more healthy and everything. And sleep is one of the healthiest things that you can do for your body, because when you're too tired and you're driving, it's just as bad as drunk driving.
Uh-oh.
I felt good coming. I felt good coming into the show. Now I just feel bad all of a sudden. I just feel bad about myself.
I want you to take care of yourself, James.
I feel like my mom is on the show now. So here's the problem. Like, to get the production done, I have to do in the morning. I have to get up like before 5 o'clock, and I don't get home until almost midnight. So I mean, you can't generate time. I mean, what do? Take a nap or something in the middle of the day? I mean, I can't even do that. So Aubrey, I want you to figure this out and get back with me. So Aubrey Urbana, which is in the lovely Harrisonburg, Virginia, where she gets plenty of sleep, right?
That's right. I make sure I do.
How many hours of sleep do you get every night, Aubrey? I want to know.
Now that I've taken care of my insomnia, I would say close to 8.
Really?
Yeah. I had some bad insomnia for about 2 years, and I just couldn't function, and I put on weight, and then I started sleeping better, and now I sleep pretty good.
See what happened? Aubrey got on this show, and that immediately solved that insomnia problem. She sleeps by listening to this show. No, well, that's good. And I agree. I will say this. I do think something bad will happen on the back end of our lives if this keeps up. I will agree with that. And I have been sleep deprived. And I joke, I say since 1973. That was when I was in high school and I was working late at night at a radio station. I get up early in the morning at the radio station, go to school. My schedule has not been right since then. Kevin Selly, how many hours of sleep do you get a night? And we can't hear a word you're saying.
And he's at home. We get him for the whole show, maybe.
Oh, really? Let's see where he is. I barely hear you, and he's going to change the audio source here. Nate, let me just go to Nate. How many hours of sleep do you get every night?
Not enough. I have 3 kids under the age of 7.
So, Dr. Aubrey, how do you solve Nate's problem?
Oh, I can't solve his problem. He's got 3 kids. There's no solving that.
I don't want to solve it. They're awful cute.
How about now?
Hey!
Loud and clear. So where are you? I've never seen you in this setting before.
I'm in the lobby of all places. I was going to go to the conference room, but some numbskull locked the door. I don't know why you locked the door to a conference room.
Why are you not on the set tonight?
Well, our new weekend meteorologist, James Stanley, is going to do the Fox show tonight. So, yeah, I'll be here for the whole thing. Yeah.
Will that be a regular occurrence, Kevin?
We'll have to see if anyone notices.
Well, let's mention that.
What is this?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Have you started the show?
No. Well, yeah, we are rolling now, but go ahead, go.
I heard Dr. Aubrey. I want to know more about this.
Well, she was giving some health advice, free health advice, and so that I just her new name is Dr. Aubrey. So there we go.
Wow, that's great. It sounds like a show title.
Exactly, that is the show title. So we've got Rick Smith, who is out, for good reason. The WCM at the Weather Service in Norman, Oklahoma, and Rick is having an evening with his wife, and apparently the last time they tried this, she wound up in the emergency room. And he didn't give us details on that, and I really don't want to know.
Well, you kind of wonder why she married him if that's where he takes her on dates. I don't know what's up with that.
He did say she was feeling better, though, so that's good.
Yep. So, Bill Murray, bring in our guests before they run.
Oh, I thought you hadn't started the show.
No.
You said no.
No, we're on, man. This is it. We are live.
Well, according to your definition of starting the show.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. I have breaking news.
Oh, boy. Stand by.
We interrupt this program for a CBS Radio Net Alert Bulletin.
Well, due to the fabulous generosity and coolness of this listening audience, I have an announcement to make about the T-shirts. You know, we've had 2 rounds of the WeatherBrains shirts. The first one was a long time ago, and that did very, very well. And then we did round 2, which was the show title version of the T-shirts. And I'm happy to announce tonight that because of the generosity of this group of listeners, we have made a donation on behalf of JB to the National Weather Association. And I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but we have had a check cut to go to the National Weather Association for a grand total of $1,157.91.
Wow. That's
awesome. Fantastic. Kevin took his cut of $13,622.67.
The 90% handling fee. That's right.
That money went directly into the Kevin Selly Memorial Snow Tire Fund, and it is earning interest right now. But I want to thank everybody who bought a T-shirt or a hoodie or whatever those that you got, and we really appreciate that. Hopefully, we can do it again. But I'm just thrilled to give well over $1,000 to the National Weather Association, and again, we're going to try and have some way to have JB's name attached to that, and probably some sort of educational value or component to that. So I just want to thank everybody again. I thought that was really nice. And there's your show title, $1,157.91.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kevin, for setting all of that up. You worked hard getting all that set up for both sets of T-shirts. So thank you for your work.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Betsy Kling thanks you.
Betsy does?
Yeah.
Does she get one?
She is the person in charge of fundraising for the new National Weather Association Foundation. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well, fantastic. Well, I couldn't think of a better person. She's wonderful.
All right, Bill,
I guess it's my job. Yeah, it's my time.
Go, man, go.
Yeah, tonight's guest panelist would not run from us under any circumstances. Would you, Dr. Laura Myers?
Never run from you.
So Dr. Laura, I'm gonna take a stab at your title. I'm gonna say Senior Research Scientist at the University of Alabama.
And the director.
Roll Tide, and the director of the Center for Advanced Public Safety.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
What does what mean? The director?
No. The part about the Center for Advanced Public Safety.
I run the largest research center on the University of Alabama campus, and we develop software solutions for public safety.
And so an example of that might be?
The citation system that all the law enforcement uses in the state of Alabama. So if you get a ticket from a police officer in the state of Alabama, it's done by an electronic system that we developed.
So could you block James Spann in there so when he's driving home woozy at night from lack of sleep that the officers would just enter all these tickets and they would go into a black hole somewhere?
Yes, it would work just like that.
Okay, well, that's probably that works anyway. If anybody could talk their way out of a ticket in Alabama, it's probably James Spann.
Yes, indeed.
But it's nice to have you with us tonight, Dr. Laura. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I always think that when I say your name, Dr. Laura, I think of the old radio talk show Laura Schlesinger did. You know, we called up and talked about your personal problems. You know, so we've already threatened to have Dr. Laura come on one night and just listen to us, pour out our innermost souls to her. So.
Be happy to.
And she can just yell at us and we'll get better. So it'll be perfect. So anyway, but tonight's guest weather brain is a retired Air Force meteorologist, over 17 years in weather support for military operations. He is currently the program manager and the senior meteorologist at MetLoop, a private meteorological firm in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's a pleasure being on here.
Well, we thank you for joining us on a pretty short notice. We got wind of your cool new app and things that you guys have going on, and we wanted to have you on and talk about the company for a minute. How did it start, and what are y'all all about?
Well, it started a few years ago. Our founder had some. He lives in Dallas, and he had some tornadoes come through, and there were a number of people that didn't get advanced warning, or at least enough warning in time to take any action. So he saw a need, and so he put together a team and began the company MetLoop. It was a different name back then, but started putting together a team that would become the basis for MetLoop as it is today. Dave Carlson, and he brought in Rocco Colaci, who's our chief meteorologist, who has he's been doing weather longer than I've been alive. So he's probably one of the more well-known weather minds in the military and supporting the government. So what we are is basically a severe weather company. We issue alerts for severe weather criteria all over the country at this point for our clients. We started with site-specific forecasts, but now we're going for the mobile app support, which we've just released our mobile app in the Apple Store and the Google Store, the Google Play Store. So we don't only focus on sites, but we also focus on all the storms, all the criteria across the country. That's a quick roundup of what we are and what we do.
So now that's a lot of storms. How do you do that? I mean, how many forecasters on duty at a time? Talk about your weather center, that sort of stuff. We don't want to get into proprietary stuff, but give us a kind of an overview.
Well, we have 12 meteorologists on staff. We do have a operations center. It's not somebody's basement. We have a team. We focused on basically military trained, military certified, military experienced forecasters, but we also have some folks that work with us that have degrees from Purdue, from the University of North Carolina, from she's going to kill me tomorrow when I forget the name of the school in Daytona, but
Embry-Riddle.
Embry-Riddle, yeah. My memory fails me at times, but so we have a specialized team of people who are basically experienced with forecasting for site-specific locations, forecasting in different regions around the world, who are certified in NEXRAD, who are certified in synoptic mesoscale, long wave patterns, weather, through Air Force training, through military training. And we have the ability right now, typically we have about 2 people on shift when there's no weather. We have the ability to plus up our staff, and we take a look at the weather, the model output, and we plus our staffing up based on the threat. So for instance, tomorrow it looks pretty bad. We were talking about our schedule earlier. So we're going to beef up our schedule for tomorrow to ensure that we have adequate staffing. We can have as many as 5 people on shift at one time based on the timing of the storms, based on the timing of the severe weather that's impacting, for instance, the Southeast or the Texas region or Florida as necessary. Frequently, we have 2 to 3 people on shift, and that's enough. We can always beef up and add more, but
that sounds like a logistical issue, because even the Weather Service I know has issues, staffing around the clock, but then accounting for severe weather.
Correct. It's a bit of a logistical issue for us, but again, we're only focused on severe weather, so that takes care of a lot of the overhead. We don't have to worry about river forecast or coastal advisory, small craft warnings, fire hazards, all the things that the National Weather Service overhead. If they have X number of products due, they have so many man hours that they have to do it to produce those products. Well, we can arbitrarily just not worry about those things because that's not our focus. Our focus is severe weather.
Is that a challenge then for the people that have to work tomorrow because they were only told this evening that they have to work?
Not really, because we have a schedule that we set up for the month. Actually, it's probably about a month and a half out. So we know that we have adequate staff for just normal weather conditions. For tomorrow, I'm going to be on actually the midnight shift tomorrow night, and our director of weather, she's going to come on for the swing shift. We've adjusted some of our admin people who are meteorologists to come in and augment as necessary. So again, we look at the weather threat and staff our operations accordingly.
So talk about the slate of products that you're issuing, because you're going all the way from sort of outlooks to actual alerts. So would you equate those to like what the SPC does to from an outlook to a watch to an actual warning, Tom?
Well, I wouldn't equate it to what the SPC does. We issue short-term outlooks, which is basically a 0 to 24-hour area of interest, saying that this is the area that there's potential for severe weather. This is the area that there's potential for snow or 1-inch hail and severe winds or heavy precipitation, etc. And then as that time draws near, that's when our other product line, the alerts, which is the 0 to 3 hour product, that's somewhat of a nowcast, where we had look at the actual data, the raw data from the NEXRAD, raw data from satellite surface observations, and we issue our alerts for the near term for the storms as they occur and as they're about to occur or as they're dissipating. We focus on the severe weather for the near term. So it's basically a 24-hour outlook to let our clients know that there's action that you have to take, or maybe that triggers some sort of action that they need to plan, or maybe they need to plus up their own schedule or their own staff. And then the near term.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Then the near term alert product lets our clients know that the severe weather criteria is actually occurring.
So none of these products are publicly available. You have to subscribe.
Correct.
So it's basically, I'm making things up off the top of my head, but if you have a car dealer that's worried about hail, you've stuck a pin in the map where their dealership is, and somebody's looking at that pin and looking at what's upstream and says, here comes some hail.
Something like that. It doesn't have to be a pin. It can be also people who are on the go, who are using our mobile app and subscribe to it. So whenever we issue an alert for hail, let's say, and somebody's driving through that area, the mobile app will wake up and notify them that they are in an area that's about to be struck or is being struck by severe hail.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So Tom, how granular do you get with these alerts?
When you say granular, I'm gonna assume you're talking about square miles or something.
Yeah,
like
and time too, because if you're issuing small alerts over a period of time, you're probably having to update those frequently, like the Weather Service does.
It depends on the storm. It really depends on the storm. We draw to the weather. We issue to the weather. So if you have let's say a tornado, your alert area, our alert areas are going to be much smaller than an area that's based on gradient level winds for 58 miles an hour. So, for instance, the tornado alert that we issued in San Antonio last week was 11 times smaller than the National Weather Service's tornado warning that they issued. So we issue based on the threat, based on the weather, based on the structure of the storm.
Is there consideration of the Weather Service warned tornado warning?
When you say consideration, what?
Do you wait for them to pull one and then draw a smaller box, or how does it work?
No, not always. We issue based on our criteria, not based on our criteria, but our interrogation of the storm and our training and in our experience. So it's totally independent of the National Weather Service. We augment what they do. Actually, what we view as helping our clients actually refine the areas of the highest probability of damage. Many people get the National Weather Service warnings via their phone, or maybe they are watching TV, and we provide a much higher granularity of area for the most likely path, or the most likely hail damage, or the wind damage, et cetera, et cetera.
So there are instances where you're issuing your own independent tornado warning.
It's not a warning, it's an alert. It's notifying our clients that the potential for a tornado that's imminent, or that a tornado is about to form, or the conditions are prevalent for a tornado formation.
What's the difference other than the title?
Without getting into the charter of the National Weather Service and the charter of our company, it's just for us to notify our clients of impending weather phenomenon.
Well, but you made a point of saying it's not a warning, it's an alert. That's semantics.
Well, semantics, I'm not good at semantics, actually, but
well, don't use them then.
Well, that's what we call it, is an alert. It's a notification of impending weather phenomenon.
But you haven't said that there's a difference.
That's the same thing a warning is. That's the exact same thing.
Well, I'm probably not the best person to talk to about the differences in the two.
What are the differences?
Well, one is again, getting back to the National Weather Services, they issue products that give public notification of, to give the widest notification possible so that people know that there's something happening. We're issuing our alerts for our clients to understand that there's a threat of these particular criteria impacting their specific location.
But I still haven't heard the difference between, I haven't heard the distinction between a tornado warning issued by the Weather Service and a tornado alert issued by you.
Ours is not for public consumption.
Okay.
I mean, that's basically, I guess the difference is it's for pay for our clients who subscribe to our services.
And broadcasters are some of your clients?
We have some media who are partnered with us, yes.
Who are they?
One that I will release is WFAA in Dallas, Texas.
Is that the only broadcaster?
Currently, yes.
But you're marketing to other broadcasters?
Correct.
And so when they go on TV, do they say tornado alert as opposed to tornado warning, or do they make a distinction between the two based on?
They do. They do. They make a distinction between tornado warnings from the National Weather Service and tornado alerts from us.
Wow. How long have they been doing that?
About 2 weeks now.
Okay. So none issued yet, I guess.
No tornadoes?
No tornado warnings?
Not for the Dallas-Fort Worth area, not for the
And you're also providing that graphically to them?
Yes, that's our main means of providing them our information as a graphic forecast.
And what's the charge for the service?
It depends. It depends. If you're an individual that just wants to have your house monitored or your property monitored, it starts at $2.99 a month. If you are an individual that wants our mobile app, you can subscribe to it. You can actually download it for free, but to subscribe to the alerts, which are sent automatically to the app, that is $36 a year. And work that out by the month. I think it's $6 a month. My math is bad, but then there's other products that we offer. Maybe a business that would be scaled differently based on their demand. So it depends on whether you're an individual and which method of delivery that you would like.
But as an individual, then I'm going to get, if I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'm going to get that information from Channel 8 as opposed to subscribing on my own. I assume they're providing it for free.
They would give that via the air. They go on the air and highlight the areas. So
it's not going into their mobile products?
I do not know that as of yet. I do not believe so, but you'd have to watch their broadcast to get our product right now, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're on the road or you're not in your home viewing area for WFAA or whatever media market that we partner up with, you wouldn't be able to see our alert unless you get it to your phone or you've subscribed to it.
So if there's a tornado warning issued for Dallas County tomorrow, they are going to go on TV and show a polygon from the National Weather Service and a different polygon from you folks?
They will show the National Weather Service tornado warning polygon, and then they will put our alert polygon for the tornado. Yes.
Same thing for a severe thunderstorm warning? Go ahead, James.
Let me ask this one, Kevin. So let's say that you issue a tornado alert, in your words, for parts of Dallas County, and the Weather Service does not. Does Channel 8 air that? That
is up to them. That's their chief meteorologist's call.
So then there's a third person making a decision.
I don't know Channel 8's WFAA's process or their policy, but I believe that's what they have the option to either air or not air our products.
Wow. Well, that's, yeah, okay.
So I've pulled up, just by comparison, I've pulled up on screen share something from WFAA's webpage from earlier today, and you can see what appears to be a National Weather Service severe thunderstorm warning outlined in yellow, and then what WFAA is branding focus zone in the purple. And so you can see what that looks like. Is that a fair use of what you guys are selling?
That looks like one of our alert polygons. They changed the appearance of it to get the best on-air graphic quality. But again, it provides a higher focus fidelity for our users. And
how dynamic is that product? Is that going to change every minute, every 30 minutes? What?
Well, it's issued for a length of time. So again, depending on the storm width, the storm length, how fast the storm is moving, it is issued for a time period. So anywhere
how frequently can you change it? Or how quickly can you change it?
We can send updates as necessary as quickly as possible. So, if let's say the storm builds and we issue an alert for 15 minutes and then it collapses 12 minutes later, we can issue another one indicating that there's going to be some high winds or maybe what other phenomena will be occurring.
Got it. Thanks for putting that up there, Nate.
Yep.
So if I'm in Van, Texas, then I've got a severe thunderstorm warning from the Weather Service, but according to the blue alert, I'm not in a warning. So what's a person in Van, Texas to do? Does he believe the Weather Service or does he believe you?
Well, I would hope that person would take all available information in and make their own decision. If the National Weather Service says there's a threat for severe thunderstorms in a certain county, but then a news media who you know and trust come out and say that there is the highest threat is actually in the other corner of the county where you're located at. Well, that's a decision that we're arming people with the information, the decisional information that they can use to alter their path or not alter their path. Maybe they're in a truck and driving around and they don't have to stop and hide underneath the overpass now because they understand that the weather's going to the east of them instead of overhead.
So I feel like we need to ask Laura here about
exactly.
the confusion factor, Dr. Laura.
Yeah, I think it would be very confusing. So my question is, have you evaluated the public's response to the two different pieces of information and how they're going through that decision-making process?
When you say the public's response to the two different pieces of information, I'm assuming you're talking about the National Weather Service polygon being overlaid with our polygon on the WFAA channel, correct?
Correct.
No, it's been released. It's very new, and that has not been done by us. But I know for a fact that many of our clients really like our alerts and understand that they are providing them some actionable information that's highly accurate.
Well, how will you research it then in the public sector, since you're throwing this out to the public then through the television station? What will you do to evaluate that? Because I think that I don't want to put words in Dr. Laura's mouth, but maybe that was part of her question.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have an answer for you. That would be a marketing team strategy to pursue. They have thought about it. I'm focused on the meteorological operations.
Your team or the television station's team?
Our team, and more than likely the television's station as well, TV stations.
They had a product there some years ago that was promising to forecast exact rain totals down to a specific address, and it was very poorly received. I don't know if you're aware of that one or not, and I think they eventually abandoned it. Are you aware of that experiment there?
I am not.
And let's disclose for fair reason here, Kevin, for Tom, that Kevin used to work for Belo Broadcasting.
Yeah, I worked in that building, so I have some knowledge of the people that are there, although many of them have changed since I left.
Okay, I understand.
So let's get more into the science of this thing. Again, this is straight off your website, and as best I can tell, you're claiming the POD is at 95. How did you come up with this 95% POD? And it's listed on this graphic as forecast accuracy.
Well, we keep a rolling tab of our forecast accuracy. We have an in-depth verification program. We verify 100% of our alert polygons. We have a detailed process that we follow. I always say, we take storm reports, we take social media reports, we take the radar data, and we have a number of criteria that I'm not going to really get into the secret sauce, but we do go and use a carefully constructed verification process for each of our alert polygons, and we are consistently above 95% with our accuracy.
So how can you verify a warning based on radar data instead of an actual report?
Well, we take that into consideration. I'll give you an example. I have a house up in Prattville, Alabama. I just moved down here last year, and frequently we have windstorms that push through. And I see all of my friends, friends from church and whatnot on Facebook, and they're putting pictures of trees down. They're putting pictures of stoplights down, stop signs knocked over by the winds. But when when the Storm Prediction Center collates all of their storm reports, there are none for Prattville because people don't bother to report it, or maybe they don't know how, or there's an educational process maybe that needs to occur. So, that's one thing that we do. We take into consideration the social media aspect of this, and it's actually being incorporated in a future release of our application, mobile app. But social media allows us to basically go where storm reports don't go. And that's opened up a whole new realm. Radar data is radar data, and there's a lot of good that can come from it. Radar data doesn't lie. It is what it is. And it's a very useful tool for interrogating. And if the radar data is good enough for you to issue, for instance, the National Weather Service uses radar to issue a severe thunderstorm warning. If it's good enough for them to issue a severe thunderstorm warning, then it should be good enough to verify it, correct?
But no, it doesn't work that way. The Weather Service goes in and with actual reports. The verification is never. They don't use radar for that because you just can't. I mean, to verify a warning, you have to have a valid report of hail or so many mile-per-hour winds or flooding or whatever. You can't just verify a warning off radar. If that's the case, the Weather Service would be 100% accurate.
No, I'm not suggesting we use the radar to verify the warning, but it is a part of the decisional matrix that goes into issuing one. And again, in the absence of a warning, or excuse me, in the absence of a report, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. That's the problem with the storm reports. They can be few and far between, and it's surprising that sometimes you get storm reports out in the middle of nowhere and you won't get them in a city. But when you see the social media posts of hail, of wind damage, and it doesn't get incorporated into the storm reports by the Storm Prediction Center, that's something we do take into consideration.
Well, how are you? Ask you this. Well, hang on, Kit. But so you got a 95 POD. What's your FAR?
About 5%.
Have you got the statistics to prove that?
We have a comprehensive list of basically the records of all our alerts for the last year, with the verification that goes with it.
So if you got a POD of 95 and an FAR of what, 5, then you guys have the most brilliant people in the country working there. Why not present a paper, have it peer reviewed and published so the entire weather enterprise can use this data? And why? And again, I'll go beyond that. And you've got 60 to 30 minutes lead time. So every tornado, you're going to give 30 to 60 minutes lead time.
Well, you know as well as I do that storms don't always follow a specific development pattern. For instance, in Colorado, frequently you have storms that develop from 0 to 50,000 foot tops in less than 2 sweeps of the radar. So, you know, again, we issue based on the weather, we issue based on the storm and the criteria that's occurring, the phenomenon that's occurring. And that's, weather is a extremely fluid and as you know, it's very dynamic and extremely fluid. And you can have the same synoptic or mesoscale setup on 2 consecutive days and get two completely different outcomes based on some small perturbations in the atmosphere, some small changes. So, you know, the goal is 30 minutes to 60 minutes, but we don't. You're saying
it's the goal, but you don't always achieve that goal.
Not always. No. And again, it's based on the weather. Sometimes thunderstorms blow up in less than 5 minutes and less than 10 minutes in some of these scenarios in the Midwest or
so
Colorado.
do you think that banner is misleading? If I were just Joe Q Public, not knowing anything, I see this, I'm going to get 30 to 60 minutes notice for every tornado. To me, that's what that represents.
I don't think it's necessarily misleading. It's a goal.
I don't think the public understands that. When they see something like that, they think it's 100% valid. And that's the problem for the public, is their confidence in this information. And so I think that's my biggest concern about the difference in your alert from the warning is, you know, the public's confusion over your guarantees of accuracy.
And you say the public is confused? Or is
well, they might be confused because we've done a lot of evaluations of the public's response to the weather warning process. And, you know, what they're looking for is certainty. They're looking for timing. And so when they see those kind of promises, you know, they're going to focus on that. And so, you know, when you say 30 to 60 minutes advance warning, if that's the goal versus the reality, that's going to be a problem for them.
Understand.
You're shaking your head like this is the first time you've thought of this.
No, I haven't. We've thought of this before. It's just you're posing it in a different manner. I will say that we consistently get 10 to 15 minutes for tornadoes, a lead time.
So what about the confusion factor in the thing that Nate put up? There's somebody in Van, Texas, and one source is saying that they're not under a tornado warning, and the other source is saying that they are under a tornado warning. And if they're happening to watch Channel 8, telling them two different things, doesn't that create confusion?
Much of what the public consumes can create confusion.
Oh, aren't you adding to it though?
Specifically with this, what I see is a psychology that involves the public's perception. So if you issue, or the National Weather Service issues a tornado warning for the entire county of, you know, whatever county, if I'm in the western side of the county and the tornado is actually in the eastern side of the county, what they've done in my mind is incited near panic in my mind that there is a tornado affecting my house, when in fact the tornado may actually be across the county.
But
Now,
that doesn't happen anymore.
it's
That's why
good.
they made polygons.
Well, it happens. I'm frequently watching the weather, and it does happen. Maybe not the
Well,
entire
sure,
county,
an entire
but
county. But that's the example you just gave. You said if part of a county, if the whole county is included in a warning, and somebody's on the other side from the storm, that was the point of the polygons.
And storm-based warnings have been around for 10 years.
Yeah, that's a really old argument.
Well, again, we issue our alerts at a very high level of granularity to show our clients where we expect or where we're forecasting a tornadic, incidents to occur. Not issuing for the broader, public consumption, but issuing for our clients so that they know exactly where the path of the tornado, the path of the hail swath, or the severe winds would occur.
Okay, so I'm in Van, Texas right now, and I am under a National Weather Service warned tornado in that polygon, but I'm not in yours. Am I supposed to take cover?
Say that again. You're in Van, Texas, and you're under a National Weather Service tornado warning.
I'm in a tornado warning.
Ours?
That's correct. I'm into the tornado and the tornado polygon issued by the Weather Service, but I'm not in yours that goes through Channel 8. Am I supposed to take cover or not?
Well, again, the way I see it is that's an individual decision. For instance, if I'm in Van and I see that the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for whatever large area of the county, and then I know that the other tornado warning, or excuse me, tornado alert that we've drawn is in the other part, maybe I don't drive to pick up my child who's, the route I take is through that area, or maybe I don't go to the store right now, or maybe I take a different action or a route, or I don't do whatever it is I'm about to do because I understand that I'm under a threat of severe thunderstorm, but I know that there's a tornado possibly or probably occurring across the county. I mean, that's the way I look at it. That's the way a lot of people should look at it, is giving you more information to highly focus your actions as an individual, or as a consumer, as a client.
So Dr. Lahr, you've commented before on the problem of confirmation. People seeking confirmation when the source is supposed to be the Weather Service, and when you get that storm-based warning, you should take action. Now people have another source to go to. Is that going to cause problems?
It is going to cause problems because the psychology of it is that people don't want to take action unless they absolutely have to. And so if you've got the warning polygon and then you have the smaller polygon within it, those people that aren't in the smaller polygon are going to probably determine that it doesn't apply to them, or they're going to wonder if it does. And then they're going to put pressure back on the broadcast meteorologist asking for clarification. Hey, am I in it or am I not in it?
I'm gonna ask the pink elephant question here. Why then are broadcast meteorologists drawing storm tracks? Why, if the Weather Service is putting a polygon out and that's supposed to be the one thing, then why all the stress on storm tracking and drawing our own polygons? And because essentially that's what you're doing, right? I mean, if you
which is the very reason I don't do it, but I know that many do. But you have never seen me draw one on my show during tornado warning coverage in 20 years, because I agree that creates confusion.
Because nearly every other, I haven't met a news director yet who thinks that the National Weather Service warning is the end all be all of what we should be doing, and that we can get in. And I've had Mark Fox, who works at the Dallas Weather Service office, commented in a conversation about this. He said that the job of the media and private sector firms is to refine the base forecast from the National Weather Service. That's one role that they can play. It's to improve upon, this is the mass for public consumption alert, and that we are encouraged by the Weather Service to take the data that they provide and provide more specific products for particular audiences that the Weather Service doesn't have the time or the ability to reach directly. And I would say, in the case of, and I know AccuWeather gets all kinds of flack. I don't get paid for them, whatever, but they get all kinds of flack for doing exactly that. Taking, providing a forecast to a paying client that may or may not be, that generally speaking is not available to the public. There are occasions where that has not been the case, but generally speaking, and we talked about this last week with hospitals and everything else, there's some clients that need more time than the Weather Service can provide. And I think just getting beyond AccuWeather and MetLoop and WDT and other companies that do this, I think there's a broader philosophical question here about the role of private sector firms doing forecasts, which will necessarily include alerts, warnings, whatever you want to call it, and the role that they play within the weather enterprise. I'm throwing that out, and I asked.
Again, it doesn't matter what we think. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anybody.
But it does because we have a pulpit here, No, I mean, and we've got Dr. Laura. I'm very interested in her opinion on this, because I think I'm just going to shut up and let her talk. I want to know because I mean, really. This is a big question. If at the end of the day, if all we're supposed to do is relay the Weather Service warning and call that the gospel, and it's great, don't get me wrong, but if that's where it stops, then I'm out of a job. I don't need, as you say, a blow-dried boob on TV doing storm tracks and everything else if all I need to do is put up the Weather Service warning, read the text of the warning with the call to action statements and the pathcast, and hope to God they're updating it every 10 minutes, which, by the way, is now 2.5 NEXRAD sweeps.
But the difference is what we do, we're not issuing our own warnings. I have never gone on television and issue a warning. Don't do it. Don't believe we ought to be doing it. We shouldn't be in the business of doing that. But what I do, yes, I go on television. I tell people, if you're at Jim's Pit Barbecue and Jim Bird's Farm, and if you're at Peach Park, then you need to be in a safe place right now. I know the geography and the territory better than anybody else, and the Weather Service can't do that in their warnings. But I don't issue I'm going to issue a tornado warning. I'm not doing that. Dr. Laura, let's kick it back over to you and address what Nate had to say.
Well, specifically that's the issue, is the public's looking for location and timing. And that's really what the broadcast meteorologist provides. And so what James does and a lot of the other broadcast Mets do is really talk about the terrain issues. Where is it going? How can people identify landmarks in that location? And I think the biggest issue is the visualization. When we start putting this out, they're going to be looking at those graphics. They're going to look at those polygons, and that's what's confusing to them. And it's the broadcast Met that helps define what that means. One of the things we're looking at right now is people really can't identify where they are on a map. And so that's an added complexity to the different polygons we're talking about.
So we go back to I'm going to pull up this example again, even though I don't think it's a particularly good example, but I'll use it. In this case, you've got the storm. The warning includes areas well west of Canton and southwest of Wills Point. And whoever was running the radar at this particular moment drew essentially a polygon. I'm ignoring the focus zone down at the bottom for a second. Drawing a polygon. Clearly the threat has passed on the backside of that storm, right? So am I not correct in drawing a polygon that's showing where this storm is going and eliminating at least the back part of the warning?
Well, do you intend to do that? In terms of, what the larger polygon is showing, because that is, a great idea to be able to do that. That's what Facets is doing. They're trying to do this same sort of thing. Is where is it in the polygon? Where is it moving? When has the seriousness passed in that process? But do we have that accuracy?
Without question, I can tell you that southwest of Wills Point, if that storm is moving toward the northeast or east-northeast toward Mineola, the threat has passed southwest of Wills Point on the backside of that storm. I don't think, and I would imagine that 5 minutes from now on this, at 12:40 p.m., the Fort Worth office came back in and chopped off the back of that polygon. But the product directive, or if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the product directive that says that severe thunderstorm or tornado warning specifically should be updated about every 10 minutes with a severe weather statement. But if the radar is running at VCP 12, you're getting a full volume scan in something like 4 minutes. So every 10 minutes, I'm getting 2.5 volume scans worth of data, which means in a storm that's moving 60 miles an hour, we can do the math, right? That storm has moved, it's moving at a mile a minute. In 10 minutes, it's moved 10 miles. So I can, in between updates where the polygon is getting shifted, I look at it in the sense I have a responsibility to refine my assessment of the threat and chop that off. Is that going to, am I causing confusion by doing that when clearly the backside of that storm has moved out of whatever my geography is bad, and I feel like a terrible Texan here about what county we're talking about over here to the west, but it's clearly out of that county now, and it's moving toward Fruitvale, and probably will miss Canton to the north, but it's too close to call. But I'm struggling with this because I feel like it's a philosophical question about what role we should be doing, because if at the end of the day, all we're doing is just rehashing what the Weather Service warning is, then my job just got a lot easier. Yes, adding the geographical boundaries and stuff that James is frankly known for, he's legend for, and I'm not blowing sunshine up your skirt, James, on that, but the knowledge of your viewing area is incredible, and I think that's something that young broadcasters should learn from. But at the same time, I think we have a responsibility as meteorologists to refine that polygon, especially in cases where the National Weather Service can't or doesn't, for whatever reason, update the polygon as frequently as they could or should. And how much, am I just, and I'm legitimately asking, I'm not asking because I think I know here, but am I screwing my viewers by doing that? Or am I don't know.
Well,
That's what, go ahead, Laura.
Well, it gets to the consistency issue. It's like the polygon is sitting there that's issued by the Weather Service, and they may be looking at that polygon from a bunch of different sources. And then the broadcast meteorologist, if they're modifying that graphic, then that's what starts to change things for the viewer. And so my question would be, are you changing it graphically or are you changing it verbally? Because with what James is doing, he's doing it verbally. He's telling you the process of it verbally. And you're talking about changing it graphically, I think. And I think that's where we start to get, they're looking at different slices of information from different places, and that's where it begins to get confusing.
Right. The deal is they're not going to watch me or Nate the whole time. They're going to be changing channels. People are going to be changing channels, trying to find somebody talking about their county and their community. And if they watch Channel 8 and Channel 7 and Channel 6 and Channel 5, and they all have different polygons, what are they going to do? And then not only are they watching television, they're looking at their phone. People use a multiple screen experience. They're looking at their phone, looking at the television, and all of these polygons and shapes are different with different colors. And that's my issue. If everybody issues their own warning, I'm not talking about refining, the Weather Service warnings by giving specific locations and all this, verbally. If we all issue our own warnings, it's going to be mass chaos. Laura, don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think in this case I'm talking about people issuing warnings, although I think where we're making that connection between drawing a polygon using Fast Track or Max Storm or whatever and doing a time of arrival, sort of the linear extrapolation time of arrival thing, which has its own issues, by the way, but it's the best tool we've got. And doing that, I am drawing that on top of, the Weather Service polygon is there. We leave them on. But if I see within that polygon something that's of interest, I'm going to draw a storm track either on the leading edge of that or what have you. And that's going to go out. It may or may not stay within the bounds of the polygon. In virtually no case does it completely fill or cover the polygon that's there. So there's part of the polygon that's left out. And I am speaking on top of it. I'm not doing this in a vacuum. I'm not doing this without talking over it. So, in that case, that describes, I would think, something in the order of about 98% of severe weather coverage in this country. And if you're saying that that's not what we're supposed to be doing, we are all doing it wrong.
Well, we're going back to I think the question of the unified message that's causing the confusion. I would ask Tom if tomorrow I start issuing Kev's on guard alerts for tornadoes, and I offer that service to Channel 4 in Dallas. Now we've got 3 different products. Does that cause you any concern?
Does issuing a tornado
I'm gonna
in conjunction with the National Weather Service warnings cause me problems?
I'm gonna copy exactly your service, but when the tornado warning is issued tomorrow for Dallas County, my box is going to be different from yours, which is different from the Weather Service. Does that cause you concern?
The way I see it, and this is me speaking as an individual, the way I see it is if I get more refined information with which I can make good decisions, that's what I want.
But I think what Dr. Laura is telling you is that that's creating confusion. Is my scenario going to create more confusion, Dr. Laura?
It is, because, I think Tom's assuming, that it's an easy process to take that additional information and make good decisions with it. But people are getting this information in bits and pieces. And like James said, they're getting it from different sources, and they don't have a lot of time with the information. Jane Q citizen like me is sitting there grabbing all of that information, trying to put it together. And it's not easy for the public to do that. And so that's where the confusion comes from. There's a percentage of the population that are very weather savvy, and they are gathering that information, and they know what they're looking at, and that refinement is helpful to the process. But that's a percentage of the population. Most people are not that savvy because they're going about their business, they're doing other things, and I think that's where the confusion comes in.
Does that concern you, Tom?
The way I look at it is no matter what, whether it's the National Weather Service or private industry, no matter what they do, there's going to be a segment of the population that will be confused. Because whether, and I'm not saying that
what percentage are going to be confused? You're just
I don't
going to
have
leave
that
them
number,
out?
but no, you can't. But that's why we make our alerts so simple. We make
But this is the heart of the message that we've been trying to deliver here, is that we're trying to get to a unified message, not a divergent one that causes confusion. And the suggestion is that you're adding to the confusion, not helping to get a unified message in service of your business model.
One way I look at it is the National Weather Service warnings are kind of like a wide angle lens on a camera, and we provide the zoom lens to show where the detail is. That's the way I look at it. So that somebody who looks at the National Weather Service product and says, oh, this area is under threat of severe thunderstorm, and oh, here's whether it's a Met Loop, whether it's weather alarm, or whether it's a focus zone on WFAA, this is actually where the highest probability or highest chance of these severe weather criteria occurring will exist.
Okay, but you just had one of the top severe weather researchers in the country, and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, tell you that you're injecting confusion, not better information.
That's correct.
Well, I don't have an answer for you because I haven't done the studies.
But you're issuing the alerts.
Well, again, we make our product very simple.
Yeah, but this should be of great concern to you. This should be of great concern to you because you've just been told that you're injecting confusion into an already confusing system.
And our product shows the user, shows the subscriber where exactly they are within this polygon, if they're in the polygon or not. So it arms them with the action that they need to take whatever action, it arms them with the information they need to take whatever action is necessary to either, take cover or, pull under a overpass to protect their car or their vehicle.
No, you didn't just say that. Come on, you didn't mean that. Did you just tell people to pull under an overpass on the highway?
Whatever action they deem necessary. How
You
about
just
that?
said, Pete. I asked you, did you tell people to pull under an overpass on the highway?
I did not tell people to do that. I said whatever
Okay.
actions they deem necessary. That was one example.
That was just an example of one that they could do.
Because in April, when there was a big hailstorm in Dallas, I saw pictures of hundreds of people parking under overpasses.
And so that makes it right.
It doesn't make it right, but when it comes to an emergency, life and limb, you do whatever you can, right?
I see. Okay.
Well, again,
Tom, I appreciate you coming on, man. You're a nice guy and a brave guy. I appreciate the discussion.
And let me just say this. And if you've heard me speak, you know the deal. This is all I care about, Tom. And I'm sorry, I don't care about your business model. I don't care about anything else but this person. This is Danielle Downs, who was killed April 27, 2011 in Tuscaloosa. This is Ashley Harrison. They were both college students at the University of Alabama, 2 weeks away from graduating. And when Ashley's parents accepted her diploma, you can see the pain in her eyes, in Mrs. Harrison's eyes. And if you can't see the pain in her eyes, you're dead. It's visceral. And that's all I think about. And if an esteemed social scientist tells me that creating multiple warnings from multiple sources, if every Tom, Dick, and Harry and every TV station, every blow-dried boob, every retired weather service guy, every retired military weather guy, they're smarter than everybody else, we know better than anybody else, we're going to issue our own warnings, then the social scientist says the lack of a simple, unified, simplified message will create confusion, which will kill people. Laura, do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. It will.
So that's our problem, Tom, and you've got to understand where we're coming from. We have had intense loss of life on my watch, and introducing confusion is a problem here. And again, we're not here to bash you, but here's the problem. The whole weather enterprise, this horse is about to go out of the barn. Tom, you're not the first company that's going to do this. Somebody's seeing you're doing it, thinking, man, these guys are making some good money with their own warnings. Everybody's going to go out. You know, some 15-year-old kid in their basement's going to be issuing their own warnings, and every TV station is going to be doing it. Before you know it, it is going to be absolute chaos. And we've got to, as a weather enterprise, work together to get this horse back in the barn. And if we don't do it, time is almost running out. And I feel like this is the last year we can do this. And to honor the lives of all of these people that have died, I will fight until my last breath to stop it. We've got to have some type of unification here. And that's all I'm saying. It's great. I'm all for making money. I'm all for business. It's awesome. But you're issuing your own warnings, aren't you?
No, we're issuing our alerts for our clients.
No, what's the difference? We've been through this. What's the difference?
The issue is that our clients have given us feedback, and that our alerts that we issue have a higher fidelity and higher accuracy than the National Weather Service.
So then you guys are smarter than the Weather Service, all your meteorologists there.
I'm not saying that we're smarter than the Weather Service. We just provide them with a higher fidelity and granularity of information.
And you're okay with the confusion that you're introducing into the system?
For our clients, we do not introduce confusion into their system.
No, you can't make that argument in Dallas because your clients are now everybody in Dallas.
So, to be a little bit of a devil's advocate, when the WFAA meteorologists get up on screen and point to the areas that are within that severe weather polygon that the National Weather Service issues, aren't they also injecting confusion by making a verbal comment about the path or threat?
But you're making it graphically, which I think is a distinction that.
Well, and again, right. That's a good question. It doesn't matter what we think. It matters what the people think. And we got Dr. Myers because she's a social scientist. She understands things that we don't. We all of our backgrounds are engineering and science and meteorology. How would you respond to that, Laura?
Well, that's really the issue. It's the graphics that are confusing. James mentioned the color issues. It really comes down to trying to understand it. And I think the distinction Tom's making is between the client and the public. The client is asking for that information, seeking that information for a particular purpose. But then the public is more generalized. And so that's the point about the consistency of the information. It's the inconsistency in the multiple types of information that's going to create the problem. And that's what James is talking about, that leads to the potential loss of life, because people are sitting there, they're confused, and when they're confused, they stop doing what they're doing and they don't take appropriate action.
But is it true also that when people receive a false alarm after false alarm after false alarm, that they get complacent and stop taking action also?
Well, and that goes to the issue of, the storm-based warnings and the polygon system. That's been the goal of this process for quite some time, is to reduce the FAR. And we know just from evaluating the FAR perception on several event evaluations, it's really only about less than a third of the public that gets desensitized to the false alarms. And so the rest of the public is fine with it. They understand it. In fact, they actually prefer the warning, and they deal with it in a very positive manner, and they don't change their behavior in future events.
So a third of the public, less than a third, becomes desensitized.
They can become desensitized, but they're typically the ones that are desensitized anyway. These are the ones that are critical of the whole warning process, and they don't want to be bothered with the weather information anyway. And so, we look at that 1/3 and evaluate their perceptions, and the reality for them is they're going to be hard to please regardless.
But let's go back to the FAR. Tom, I'm with you, man. I am with you. The FAR here in my world was running about 80 in 2011. Absolutely. There were too many false alarms. We've all gone back to basic science. We don't issue the warnings. The Weather Service does that down here. Kevin Laws is the science operations officer. What he's done with polygonology and with basic science, he's got that FAR down to 20, and I never in my wildest imagination thought it would ever be that low. And I still want to press you on this 5. You're shooting straight with us.
Yeah, we've got the stats to back it up.
Can you release those stats?
That's not my call. I would have to get clearance of that. But
it'd be
but
like
you're in favor of it.
I will take a note and discuss this with my executive team.
It's like I could say I've got a full head of hair, and I don't have any hair. I could go out there and say that, but
I believe they call those alternative facts.
Yeah.
But a FAR of 5, that you're claiming lead times for every tornado of 30 to 60 minutes, and an FAR of 5. Nobody in the science says we're not to that point. And if you have figured it out, if you guys have cracked it, if you are the Einsteins of the enterprise, why not write a paper, get it peer reviewed, and publish it so everybody could benefit, and you could still keep some of your proprietary mojo.
I have taken that as a note for something to pursue as well.
The other go ahead.
Getting back to your comment about confusion, again, the sole purpose for what we do is to arm our clients, to equip our clients with the most accurate information that they can receive. And by doing that, in my view, we potentially save lives. And again, looking at the tragedies that you've shown, I mean, those are real. I was in Alabama that day, and I remember the sirens going off and watching on the news a big tornado, and it hits me every time I see a tornado on the ground. I wonder if somebody's life is being destroyed. But we're trying to prevent that. We're trying to arm people with information.
So you're saying if your system was operating April 27th, 2011, all those people wouldn't die?
I'm not going to go out and say that at all.
That's insanity. Don't even think about doing that on this show. Don't insult these people and don't insult us by claiming that.
Don't put words in my mouth, please, because I didn't say that. But arming everybody with this information would be critical. And I think if we give people the most information that they can get the best information, they can take the best action themselves and decide what's best for them. And if that means getting down in your basement or taking shelter, then by all means, let's get that information in their hands.
I'm afraid where this is going, and I would challenge you to not use the phrase "what we're doing for our clients" anymore, because again, in Dallas, you're not doing that anymore. You're giving it to people who aren't paying for it and don't know where it comes from, and don't have that relationship that you're talking about. But where this is going is, and this is why, in my opinion, Channel 8 did this, is that they are looking at it as a promotional opportunity, because that's what they did with the rainfall at your house thing. It becomes a promotional opportunity that they do the other 325 days a year that there isn't severe weather in that market. And then what that does is create a one-upsmanship situation with the other television stations in town. And that is where these things have escalated to a point of danger.
Well, I can't speak for what the intentions of Channel 8 are or were when they signed on with us. I just know that
well, you do need to take some responsibility for what they do with it, though.
Well,
it's your product.
Yes, it is our product, and what they do with it informs their viewers with it provides their viewers more information from which to make decisions.
Yeah, and we'll see where it goes. This will be a process like it was before. I hope that it ends in a similar way, that we go toward the solution of more consistency and unified messaging as opposed to less. But I'm afraid that's where it's going to go.
Are you actively marketing this time to other markets now?
I believe our marketing team is. I can't confirm or deny that because I'm not part of that, but I believe they are, as well as other industries.
And here's the thing, Kevin, these consultants eat this up.
Right.
We track tornadoes down to your house.
Right.
We give you 60 minutes lead time, and we are more accurate than the National Weather Service. I mean, it's the classic consultant, thing where they're going to love this. Yeah, we're going to sign up for this. And again, everybody, every market's, I was telling you, unless we do something this year, every market in tornado-prone areas, every station's going to be doing their own watches and warnings. And it's about to go right down the watch warning system in the country right now. If you're listening to this, it's on the verge of a collapse. And it's almost like the economy on the verge of a collapse. In my opinion, this is just James talking, some guy that's been here a long time. And in my opinion, Dr. Laura, we need to step up and do something. And that's what I want to try and do this year.
The James Spann stimulus package.
and again, Tom, it has taken guts for you to come on the show, and I really do thank you. It's hard to come on here, and we obviously all have different ways of thinking how watches and warnings should be done. But Bill Murray, I'm the lead on the late news here, so Bill, I'll let you wrap up the interview with Tom, and we got to go to the recorded segments and do the regular segments before we make this thing too long.
So you're just going to edit the recorded segments in, James, at the right?
No, I will play them here.
Okay. All right. We'll come back.
Once we wrap up, Tom, I'll play. In fact, Brian is out. I don't have a Professor Peters. I've got Tony Rice. So you can go another 10 minutes, and once we do Tony, then I'll step in and let you finish it.
Okay. Just a little, secret behind the sauce stuff, Tom. How are you guys actually issuing these things? I'm anxious to hear about what software you've done, or what are you doing to create these polygons?
Well, our software package is something that it's military grade. It was designed for the military. It's issued. Our alerts are issued via. Actually, we FTP. We hook our systems up to other our clients' systems via API. We issue an alert for a client, and they get a text message that shows a map. They can click on a link, and it shows the map with their location in it, or it goes directly to their mobile phone, where their either their location or their monitor point will show when they're being impacted by severe weather.
When you say military grade, do you mean designed by military or designed by your people?
But for the military.
What is a military grade standard then?
Well, I wasn't there when the design team put this together.
I'm just trying. It feels like, I'll be honest, it feels like a buzzword, okay, to say military grade. I want to know what the difference is between what the military is going to do with this information and somebody in Van, Texas is going to, how it's different getting to them and what it's supposed to be doing differently for them.
Maturity of the software, the dependability of the software, the redundancy of the software, and the servers that back it up. Again, we're not, somebody's basement. We have.
What is that? Why is that military grade?
Well, in the military, if you have a redundant system, if you have a failure, then it can your operation continues. If you have a
redundancy is military grade.
That's one aspect. I'm not going to get into.
What are the other aspects?
Again, I did design the system.
Well, no, I'm asking. Like I said, I really feel like it's a buzzword, and people go, "Oh, military grade, that must be something." But I would like to know what that is.
The software and the system has been in use by the military in the past and in the present, actually.
So this is like open source software that was produced by the government that has to be made available.
It's a proprietary software that was designed for the military and being used by the military.
Tom, I got to go too, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
It's my pleasure, my honor to be here, and I appreciate your time.
Take care.
So getting back to that, I wanted to clear one thing up on the false alarm issue, because we take the POD and false alarm numbers really seriously and help the Weather Service as much as we can in the verification process. So, part of what we do is, encouraging our listeners to report things on social media and get them in the right channel so the Weather Service can find them. So, if you're lowering the bar on probability of detection, meaning, there are plenty of days that we have rotating supercells, and you look at the gate-to-gate shear in Alabama and you say, boy, that storm's producing a tornado, but it doesn't produce a tornado debris signature. There isn't a ground truth report of it. Is that where you're drawing the bar, Tom? Is that storm actually should have, could have, might have, ought to have produced a tornado? So we're going to put that over in the verification category.
No, again, excuse me, I'm fighting a head cold.
Yeah, I think the entire country is. It's Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
Did you just say it was Al Qaeda?
Yeah, that's the cause of all problems since 1992 in the country.
Does the bell signify a joke?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know that it was a joke, but it was a poor attempt at humor either way.
We have a detailed interrogation process for severe thunderstorms, and again, you can have severe criteria without a thunderstorm as well. We take into consideration, as I said, the ground reports, social media. We don't just issue our alerts based on a base reflectivity product. We look at the whole volumetric scan. We track the storm. We assess whether it's building, whether or not the gate-to-gate shear, the extent into the atmosphere. So it's not something that just is thrown together, just kind of winging it with, kind of Kentucky windage sort of thing. Without getting into our process, we have a comprehensive process. We have a comprehensive and a detailed training plan and a program here where we certify our forecasters. Our forecast process and our personnel are very, very good at what we do. Our team is comprised of experienced military forecasters, people who have graduated recently from some pretty prestigious universities, as well as had some other operational experience. So we're operationally experienced, we're operationally trained in the military. We've got the educational pedigree in as well. So it's the whole process. It's the people, it's the team. The people I work with are just amazing. Just thinking about some of the people that I work with and the skill sets that they bring to the table. And I'm really, they put me in awe every day. We've got storm chasers, we've got broadcast meteorologists, we've got folks who are just synoptic gurus. We've got again, people who are senior in the military and have 20 years of operational experience, next red certification. So a lot of expertise, a lot of skill sets that we incorporate here.
We noticed a lot of signs of roofing on your website. Tom, is the founder a roofer somewhere?
Our founder helped start the company Eagleview. He was a co-founder of the company Eagleview, which revolutionized the roofing industry. So they have a lot of partnerships, personal and business partnerships in the roofing industry. And the company does have some of that in the foundation as far as who we partnered with and who started and who have provided some of the investment capital.
So what kind of stuff are y'all going to do with tropical? I noticed you mentioned that on the website. What kind of warnings are you going to give there?
We have a hurricane alert. We have wind alerts, precipitation alerts. When tropical season hits, we pay heavy attention to the tropics and track hurricanes, tropical storms as they come into the Gulf, as they threaten the Atlantic coast. For instance, last year, our chief meteorologist, he has a newsletter that he issues every day, Monday through Friday, and he started tracking Matthew, and he was notifying our clients 10 days out of the threat to the southeast United States. He started talking about landfall possibly in Florida. So, again, it's arming people with information as early as possible, as accurately as possible, and giving them the decisional information that they can use to posture either themselves or their businesses or their mobile assets or their stationary assets to take protective actions. And, again, the more information we can give people that's vetted and proved to be accurate over time, the more dependable they'll see us, the more effective we become as a company.
I noticed on the website that you're putting up a daily video, sort of a national weather summary sort of thing. So is that just a marketing thing, or is that just
it's informational? And again, we do it on our Facebook page as well. We put up videos that kind of highlight the threats for the day, the weather for the day. And sometimes, there's really not a severe threat, and we might talk about the heat or the cold or the wind or something that's not severe, but maybe something that catches people's eye.
So back on the severe weather side, when you got a severe thunderstorm, you're warning for the possibility of a tornado. You're warning for hail. Are you warning for damaging winds too?
Correct.
At what criteria?
58 miles an hour.
Okay, yeah. So the traditional weather service warning. Is there any other product that would come out of a severe thunderstorm besides those three?
Well, we issue for severe winds, 58-mile-an-hour winds, 1 inch or greater hails, tornadoes, 4 inches of snow in 6 hours, freezing precipitation, 1/4 inch. Those are our alert criteria that we issue for. We have some other
thunderstorm warning. Do you issue 3 or 2 conceivably, or even just 1 polygon? But if you have multiple threats in that one storm, if it's got a tornado, it's got hail, it's got wind, are you issuing 3 polygons in that situation?
If it's hail and wind, we'll issue 1 polygon. If it's a hail threat that the storm collapses and produces a microburst, we'll issue another. But a tornado, we issue just for tornadoes, just so that there's no confusion about the location. It will be a highly refined and highly granular forecast alert.
So 1,220.
Hey, Bill,
yes,
I got to step in and let me roll Tony's report, and coming out of that, you take it right back. So you guys hang on 1 second. We're going to roll the astronomy report. Bill and the gang will be right back as WeatherBrains rolls along.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your astronomy outlook.
The total eclipse spanning the continental United States is just 25 weeks away. And a first-of-its-kind citizen science project kicks off this week as well. The Eclipse Mega Movie Project will gather images and video from over 1,000 volunteer photographers and amateur astronomers. Stitching these together will provide unparalleled detail of how the sun's corona changes over time. These visible light observations will extend existing research of these rapid fluctuations in the radio spectrum. There will be 2 points in time during that eclipse that are of particular interest to researchers: just before the sun is totally eclipsed and just after, also known as the diamond ring effect. This happens when that last bit of sunlight streams through a single valley on the moon's edge, creating a flash of light for a moment. That flash, along with the glow of the sun's corona around the remainder of the moon's diameter, is reminiscent of a brilliant diamond ring. Researchers plan to use the data from this period to measure the size of the sun more precisely. Eclipse fans are encouraged to participate, along with over 1,000 experienced photographers and amateur astronomers. A smartphone app is in development to make it easy. The project is the brainchild of Dr. Hugh Hudson of the University of California, Berkeley, who, along with a group of other heliophysicists and educators, proposed creating a movie based on as many observations as possible from a diverse group of contributors. You can learn more about the project on the web at eclipsemega.movie. Elsewhere in the sky, tomorrow, Tuesday, February 28th, a 2-day-old sliver of a crescent moon will form a nearly right triangle with Mars and Venus. Each will be separated by about 10 to 15 degrees. Look to the western sky after sunset. The trio will be visible until they begin to set around 8 p.m. local time. That's your astronomy outlook. Follow me at RTP Hokie for more spacey stuff like this.
I think this is where the jaunty little weather roundup sound would go. So thank you. Yeah. Let's go. I guess we don't have much of a table left. It's just you, me, Tom, and Dr. Laura. So what's going on around the country, Nate Johnson?
It's warm here. We had a normal day, relatively speaking, meteorologically speaking, on Sunday, and the complaints, the cries of, oh, this is so cold, because we were nearly 80 on Saturday. We'll be in the 70s, mid-70s tomorrow, likely near 80 if not above 80 on Wednesday before the cold front arrives. And then we'll have another couple of days of normal March weather with highs in the upper 50s to lower 60s. It's amazing how we get comfortable with milder weather, but I have to admit, it's been really nice. I think my wife cranked on the heat Saturday night for a little bit, and we gave up. But otherwise, I don't think we turned on the heat or the AC at all in a week and a half, and it won't be on again until at least Thursday morning. And I'm fine with that because the power company gets enough of my money as it is.
There you go. Yeah, we had an interesting situation here on Friday because we had record temperatures and had the opportunity for every first order station in our area to break a record, but there were two goofy outlying pieces of erroneous data in the Weather Service's ACES system, and it caused Tuscaloosa and Anniston not to break the records. But I'd already gone and said they had broken them. And of course, Brian Peters called me on the carpet immediately and told me that I had screwed up. He showed me the CLIs, but I still believe they were broken. So I've done a very exhaustive investigative report that you can find on AlabamaWX.com to get to the truth, Nick.
It's funny. We've got an issue with, and I need to do some digging into this. But if you look at the 1 minute data off of the ASOS at RDU International, you see some very interesting things, including some spikes. And so the highest hourly reading might be 73. And then we'll get a high of 75 or 76, which means that in between the hourly observations, we've seen the temperature at the ASOS jump up to where it's warm enough to register. But it's usually only doing that for a minute or two, and then it drops right back down again. And I have a theory that we have the ASOS is actually located adjacent to a 10,000-foot runway.
You know, jet exhaust.
I honestly, I think that's got to be part of it, because if the wind, and in this case earlier this week, the wind was blowing, or last week, the wind was blowing in just the right direction, that as the jets spool up their engines and then start their takeoff roll, and then the wind comes and catches that little bit of exhaust right there and blows it right over the ASOS. It's enough to warm up the instrument shelter for a minute, spike the temperature, and then it comes straight back down again. And we took a look at some of the 1 minute data, or the 5 minute data. We didn't have 1 minute data at the time. We looked at the 5 minute data, and it looked like it lined up quite nicely with the departure schedule for airplanes from RDU. So I want to go back and take a closer look at that, because I don't trust it. I at least on days where you got the wind blowing in just the right direction.
Sounds like one of those peer-reviewed papers. Maybe you solved the global climate change problem.
Yeah, it sounds like a wacky, kooky conspiracy theory until you look at the data, and I want to see the data and get the 1 minute data, line it up with the actual because we have clearance times for all these airplanes. I know when they're taking off, and we can map all that together and see if there's at least a correlation. If the correlation holds, then that gives us something to work on. But
yeah, so I want to know what happened in Tuscaloosa, Alabama on February 24th, 1996, when they registered a high of 84, when the closest reporting station in the whole state was 73. So
that smells funny.
They have no
that
jets
doesn't pass the
so.
sniff test.
So Aubrey, can you talk? I know you're muted over there. But
I can talk as long as my coworkers keep it down behind me.
Just tell them to shush.
Tell them you're busy. You're doing real work here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's your favorite weather in the country right now, Aubrey?
Well, it's nice and quiet here, but you know what? We're gearing up for some thunderstorms. And that's, it's been a while. You might be a little rusty.
Yeah, it's going to be a good practice for us too come Wednesday. I think we get through tomorrow here in Alabama probably without only some things in the northwest corner. Tom, what do you think? What's your read on the next 2 days? Tom's giving up on us. Tom, can you hear us?
Yes.
Tom, what's your take on the next 2 days severe weather threat across the country?
Yeah. Again, we plussed up our schedule, our staff for tomorrow. It looks like starting in East Texas, extending up into the Midwest for the next couple of days. So it's going to be an interesting few days.
That's for sure. Dr. Laura, anything you want to add to that weather roundup discussion?
Yeah, with the weather coming in here in the southeast in the next couple of days, the Vortex Southeast Research Initiative is getting started with that weather series. And so there's going to be a lot of research projects gearing up this week with the onset of severe weather, including our survey that we're doing with Alabama and Mississippi and Tennessee. And so people will start seeing links to that survey this week.
Outstanding. Make sure to share it with us, and we'll try to get it out in any channels we can if you need us to do that. Nate Johnson?
I want to ask Dr. Laura, and I hate to put too fine a point on this, but I really am concerned. So we've got a slight risk, I think, so category 2 out of 5 risk on Wednesday night for severe weather here in my area. If we have a tornado, let's say the Weather Service issues a tornado warning for something. In my severe weather coverage, based on the research you've done, what should I do? I mean, because my news director is going to want me to do street level, storm tracks, the time of arrival, that kind of thing, and they're going to want to see it. As if I've heard my old general manager say, this is television, not radio. Once I've heard him say it 1,000 times. Should I not be doing that? I mean, exactly how should we be packaging our coverage in a way that is consistent with what the work, because I don't want to be inconsistent. And the way I've always interpreted, a consistent unified message is not that we're all singing the harmony line or the melody line, but that we're all singing in harmony with one another. And that there is some room for interpretation, for refinement, that sort of thing, in a way that makes the whole sound better than the sum of its parts. So how should I handle that based on the work that you've done?
Well, based on the work that we've done, we've looked at that in regards to, a particular location going through an event and the different messages coming from the different sources. And you're right on target, because it's really about, how consistent they are, not exact, but the consistency. So for example, back in 2014, snow event in Atlanta and Birmingham, there was a strong effort to remain consistent amongst the different TV stations, even though there was a little bit of difference, a little bit of variation. And so as I talked to each of the broadcast meteorologists at those TV stations, they talked about thinking about being consistent with what the other TV stations would be saying. And so I don't think it's a matter of the more precise information. It's a matter of being radically different from what the other sources are going to be saying. And I think that's where the confusion comes in, is if it's radically different.
Okay, so if I'm drawing storm tracks on a tornado warning, that's cool. That's kosher.
If that's consistent with what everybody else is doing, and they will be. They will be doing similar things.
All right.
There you go, Nate. So you're safe to work this week.
All right. Well, one of the questions that came up is, what's the difference between what Tom and his colleagues are doing visually
And what James is saying.
And what TV stations across the country do in a severe weather event. I mean, there's visually it looks different. You have a separate polygon, and in the WFAA case, there were three, because you had the Weather Service polygon that was outlined in yellow. You had their storm track, and then you had MetLoop's focus zone, or what WFAA is branding a focus zone. And you had all three of those, and that starts, to me, Jimmy, just visually, it looks a little messy. And the other thing I have to be very careful with is that we're taking these still images somewhat out of context. We haven't heard what Pete Delkus, who's the chief meteorologist at WFAA, we haven't heard what he's saying over it. We don't know how all of that is married together. And I know that my GM, our general manager here, is very, who's actually a friend of James's, is very sensitive to the fact that not everybody watches with the sound on. But at the same time, it's television, but there's also that audio component to it. And I think if you're turning part of it off, you're voluntarily missing part of the message. But at the same time, we don't have the benefit of hearing what Pete and his colleagues were saying over that message and how they're packaging what Tom's company is providing. What we may think of that, aside, we don't know how all that is working together. Is there a place where all of these things, Laura, can work together, or is that just too much?
Well, I think you're right on target with how it comes together, because there has to be the verbal explanations, because part of this is educating the public about what they're seeing. So with, these different products and the different parts of the graphics, the broadcast med is going to have to be explaining that. And hopefully that's being explained prior to the event. It's being explained over time, and you're gaining credibility and trust with your viewers. The issue is, we know those viewers are going to multiple places to see all that information, and so they may be seeing those differences. So when they tune into that particular explanation, it's very short term. It's going to be confusing to them because they are jumping around. Okay. And so that's the difficulty.
Well, good. Well, Nate, since I guess we've kind of covered this subject pretty extensively tonight. Any emails, since we don't have Aubrey tonight? Any emails stand out that you?
As a matter of, let me pop in here real quick. I'll substitute.
We'll deputize you as the email officer for that.
Yes. Scott Courier from Haverhill, Massachusetts, talking about the what might have been the first February tornado in the state of Massachusetts, an EF1 in the western part of the state. That's actually significant. And Dr. John mentioned that he was out doing a little bit of storm damage in Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, had what might have been EF1 damage there. So a fairly busy weekend going back to last week. Sarah Cooper sent us a survey response. Appreciate hearing from her. She loves the longer shows. She says, quote, "They're great to relax to."
Too bad Brian wasn't here to hear that.
Yeah, after this episode. But I love the personal stories from past disasters. She's working on her bachelor's in geology and plans on working on, Dr. Laura, potentially a future grad student for you, natural hazards for master's and PhD. I've always been fascinated by the sociological aspect of natural disasters, and your inputs and insights are great to listen to. She's from Little Rock. We'll see if we can't get her to move to Tuscaloosa here in another couple of years when she finishes her bachelor's work. Edwin Kessler, founding director of the National Severe Storms Laboratory. I think most folks who pay attention to the show knew who this was. Served in that capacity as the director of NSSL for some 20 years. And we owe a lot in severe weather research to NSSL. And speaking of severe weather, I don't think it would be good to let the opportunity pass without mentioning the death of Bill Paxton, who is 61 years old, that died as complications from surgery over the weekend. Of course, Bill Paxton was Billy the Extreme from Twister. And it's interesting. We've had Dr. John Knox on the program from the University of Georgia, has talked about the Twister effect. And you saw a bump in the number of people enrolling in meteorology programs as a result of that. And watching Twitter over the weekend on Sunday explode in the number of people saying that they are either got into weather because of Twister or were sort of pushed in that direction, sort of acting on something that was already there. I have to confess I'm in that latter category. I'd always been fascinated with weather. Had been lured away by the dollars of computer science, but watching Twister sort of got me back in. It's like, I need to go where my heart is, not where the money is. And just seeing the outpouring of grief, and I think just about everybody has seen. My pick of the week will be the Spotter Net tribute to Bill Paxton with the BP drawn out in Spotter Net locations on the Sunday afternoon. So certainly a loss. And from Chuck Doswell, I don't think I'm going to be getting in too much trouble, but he mentioned that he had the opportunity to meet Bill on the taping of or the filming of Twister. A lot of folks don't know that Bill actually rode along with some of the Vortex 1 crews. He wanted to do research and wanted to get inside the minds of folks doing storms chasing. And Chuck Doswell, who, those of you who've seen this show, Chuck Doswell. He's not a pushover, right? He had nice things to say. He said he was a very nice guy. Had his issues with the movie, but set that aside, that he was a very down-to-earth guy. He actually spent the time to get to know the people, to know the material. And so we wish you all the best. Godspeed to you, Bill Paxton. We'll see you on the other side of the rainbow, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's for sure. We'll have Dr. Chuck Doswell on March 20th, so I'm sure that'll be interesting. He did have one thing to say about the Spotter Net display. I don't know if you saw that or not.
No, I didn't.
He said that too bad that Bill wasn't around to see that. When he was alive.
That's the thing with every tribute. It's like, why don't we tell this? Why don't we do this to people while they're alive? But anyway, I have to chime out because I have a 9-month-old at home that are upstairs. That's
so what's your pick of the week? We'll start with you, Nate.
Oh, that was my pick of the week. There?
I'm sorry. That was your pick of the week. Well, good. It's good to have you here tonight, Nate. Thanks for joining us again.
Tom, Dr. Laura, good to see you. Y'all take care.
It's good seeing you.
All right, Dr. Laura, what's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is, if people are interested in my survey on people's perceptions of Southeast tornadoes, go to the website. It's caps.ua.edu, or email me at laura.myers@ua.edu, and we'll link you up to the survey.
Yeah, drop me an email about that. We'll write a story about it on the blog in the next couple of days. Dr. Laura, nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us on short notice.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
That's right. Tom, I think I warned you about a pick of the week. Did that message get through?
Nope.
Well, we'll give you the honorary foghorn pass tonight, so you won't get penalized for not having a pick. I actually have a pick tonight. After talking about all the dams in California, the dams across the country that are weakened, mine is Flood Path, which is John Wiltman's book about the St. Francis Dam collapse in 1928 above Los Angeles, and we're going to have John on hopefully in a couple of months to talk about that, which was the deadliest man-made disaster of the 20th century in that day. So that'll be a fun thing to have. Now, we got some great guests coming up in the next few weeks. Dr. Russ Schneider from the Storm Prediction Center will join us next week. Dr. Phil Klotzbach will join us on Monday, March the 13th. We'll be joined that night by Dakota Smith from Weather Junkies. He's going to be the guest panelist that night, because when we turn the calendar over on Wednesday, it will be National Weather Podcast Month. And so we'll be sharing guest panelists. Ricky Matthews from the Carolina Weather Group will join us on the 20th to join Dr. Chuck Doswell for that special show. And then we'll have Jim Cantori at a special time on Monday, March 27th. We have to get Jim to bed. So that show is going to get recorded around 6:45 on Monday, March 27th. So some great guests coming up in March for National Weather Podcast Month. Tom, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We had a good time with you.
Pleasure. Yes, very good.
Best of luck to y'all, what you're doing. I hope some discussion tonight will be fruitful on both sides of the aisle, and the way things are going in the government. You may be the new National Weather Service before we know it.
I hear you. I appreciate the opportunity. It was great speaking to you guys, and I'm honored to be here.
Well, great. Yeah, we'd love to have you back anytime. Dr. Laura, anything you want to add before we close?
No, I'm good. It's just good to be with you guys tonight.
Yeah, it was fun. Well, Weather Brains is the weekly netcast that's all about weather. We do it generally on Monday nights at 8:30, except for when we have special things that we have to do or special guests that we have to accommodate. But we love hearing from you. We did a little abbreviated email section tonight talking about the tornadoes in Massachusetts and Pennsylvania. Sheldon Cusselson, Satellite Sheldon, sent a note about it was only the third February tornado in Maryland, and it hit the town of La Plata, Maryland. I think I'm saying that right. And if I lived in La Plata, Maryland, I think I would be moving because they had a big F4 several years ago, and it's just that of all the places that tornadoes have ever hit Maryland, that's the only place I've ever heard of. So I think that they are the tornado attractor. But send those emails to email@weatherbrains.com, and we'll try to do a better job of giving Aubrey time so she can go over those. But until next week, when we're joined by Dr. Russ Schneider from the Storm Prediction Center, I'm Bill Murray saying have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday night. So again, thank you, Tom, for staying up late with us, Dr. Laura.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye, Bill. Bye, Tom.
Bye.
Good talking with you. Thanks, Bill.
Nope, they're done. All right. All right. Hello, friends. Let me turn my mic or the camera back on here. Hello, friends. Let's see. Look at this. 32 people are still watching this, and there's been nothing on here for like 20 minutes. Wow. All right, guys. So what's going to happen? We're going to stop the WeatherBrains stream, and we're over on Song of the Nights. Come join us. Just hit the Span Twitter feed, and we're doing some songs here from 1966 this week. Last week we did 2016. This week 1966. So we're going to stop the broadcast. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great night. Bye-bye.